How to be good enough for your parents. This is the topic of today's podcast. I'm Lucia Costin, your host. I'm a rapid transformational therapist. And today we are going to be looking at what can we do to meet the expectations of our parents, because at times it often comes in the work I do with my clients that they keep trying to please their parents. They try to be the perfect children, to say so, and they fail. They get negative feedback. Their parents are all the time disappointed no matter what. So the question arises, how to be good enough for your parents. And before we move on, do subscribe to this podcast so you will get notified of new episodes and all that good stuff that's going to happen. So if you ever had to ask yourself how to be good enough for your parents, then probably your family is a toxic one, or it's not that is about you, it's mostly about them. Maybe they are emotionally unavailable parents. Maybe you were emotionally invalidated as a child. Maybe it happened all your life. Gaslighting might be something that happens often. They may be manipulating you or trying to get you to do things you don't really want to do just to fit into their idea of what your role is into that family and how that family should be perceived by others. So, if this is not what you wanted to hear, I'm sorry, but the question is not how to be good enough for your parents. The question should be how to be good enough for me. How can I be satisfied with myself and with where I am now in my current journey and in my life? So, if I'm sticking to this, and if your question will be narrowed down to how to be good enough, how to be the normal child, to say so, this video is for you. And the shorter answer to how do I become good enough is that, well, you already are. Nobody can be you. Nobody has the qualities that you have. Nobody can do the things that you do the way you do them. And that makes you good enough. That makes you unique. That makes you you. And I hope that it is easy to realize that now. And even though as small children, we are wired to please our parents because that's how we gain their love and that affection and that attention, you shouldn't do that, not on the long haul, not in adulthood. It's okay for children to rebel. It's expected when you reach adolescence. Um, Different of opinions are normal. People choose the life they want to live for themselves. Your parents' role should be that of a coach. You should not be trying to fill in their gaps, fill in their expectations, be responsible for their emotional well-being. This should not happen in a normal family, in a normal dynamic. Pleasing your parents should come from a position of giving, not dependence. So you should please them because you want to, not because you need to. So the first step in how to be good enough for yourself is to get all the help that you can. And the earlier you accept the fact that help might be needed and a second opinion and someone who views things differently, it's kind of giving that above view where they're not emotionally involved in the dynamic. They're not trying to pick a side. They're simply guiding you and allowing you to see that maybe what you were trying to do was unachievable. And if you can't afford professional help, you can seek guidance from authority figures that you do trust, like a counselor, a religious figure, a priest, an imam, a pastor, a teacher, a school counselor, whatever it may be. The important thing is to have someone you can open up to who can point you in the right direction, considering the circumstances you are in at the moment. Someone who is not going to bully you or judge you or belittle you or make you feel like, what you're talking about or what you want is impossible. And when you get certain direction, when you have more clarity, when you're able to understand that, okay, the environment I come from is not a healthy one, it will guide you through, it will guide you towards that direction where you build the right habits and you build the right beliefs and you start working on yourself to build that life that you want to build and to meet realistic expectations. And if you cannot, you know, um, live away from home, if you're still living with your parents, if you're still in that environment, then my best advice is to not stir the drama, to stay as low as possible, to not, put yourself in the spotlight, because having toxic parents can derail you from your dreams and it can make you feel more guilty for trying to break out of the circle, trying to get out of that family household, trying to grow and have a life of your own, a life that in your eyes is normal, but for them it might be um, something that, again, does not align with your role within the family and with what they want from you and what they expect from you. And you have to understand that when you come from such a household, it really doesn't matter what you want. It's more about everything being perceived as okay from outside. How are we gonna look in the eyes of others if you go and do X, Z, and Y? That just won't be nice. It won't be appropriate. Therefore, you should not do that. You should give up your dreams and you should do as you're told. You will find this kind of dynamics and this kind of emotional blackmail in a toxic household. So if you have to be there, keep a low key as possible. And, it's a skill at the end of the day. And the better you face it, the more you can focus on what really matters, which brings us to the next point, and that is one way or another investing in yourself. If you're still in school, if you're doing university, if you're studying, then give 100%, do the best you can there. Do what you can do to have that future that you want. Do good and be someone that people or companies would want to work with. And I know this is easier said than done. I know it might seem like an impossible task to achieve because of your environment, because you are so belittled, because maybe nobody expects anything of you. So, setting a price, setting a standard for yourself and sticking to that, believing that you are in fact good enough and you can in fact achieve it, even though in the past you have gotten just negative feedback. It's a struggle, it's a lot because you're going against yourself, basically. You're going against everything that you know to be real. So Give yourself that permission to achieve and to succeed. Another thing you want to do is, again, pay attention to your health, your physical health, your mental health, all aspects of it. If you can get regular exercise, if you can be somewhere away from home where you can dedicate some time just for yourself, that is going to be amazing. And regular exercise will also put you in contact with other people, and this can help you find your tribe. This can help you find those friends that you need and that encouragement that you need to get through the day. And, oftentimes what we need is good companionship. What we need is good feedback from people. And if you have one person or a couple of people you can call, and if you can find those real friends, it will help you, especially if you have similar wants, similar aspirations. So get yourself out there, find the people who have similar thoughts and similar experiences than you, people who can sympathize with you, and you can build yourself up, you can cheer each other up, and stop seeking validation from your parents. Because by asking, how can you be good enough for your parents, you're actually seeking their validation and their approval. And this needs to stop. Realistically, very slim chances that it's going to happen. So remember, you are now on a journey to becoming good enough for you and not for anybody else. And you can learn just about anything these days and without your parents' approval. You're big enough now, you no longer need it. As a child, yes, we were dependent on our parents. We needed their care, we needed their love, we needed their affection. We had certain needs, and they were met by our parents. So, as an adult, you no longer need that. Yes, we still have needs, but we don't need the validation and the approval of our parents. And we can have, as I said, our circle of friends, our circle of like-minded people who can validate us and who can support us. You can go to your local council or to your priest or to your imam or to your spiritual leader or a teacher, anything that you have that you can look up for support and you can look up for guidance if you can't afford a therapy. But seeking validation from your parents will slow you down, and it will waste your energy, and it will derail you from what you are doing and the road you are setting yourself on. So be your own person. You may somewhat agree on this, but what if you're grown to be nothing like your parents? What if everything you believe in is opposite to theirs? And that's quite extreme and perhaps, hypothetical. But in any case, you should remind yourself, for whom are you striving to be good enough? Who are you doing all this for? And if your parents were absent, if they abused you, it makes no sense to be someone or something to their liking. And I'm sorry, and at times we need to do that. So, take on challenges. Take on challenges for yourself and for your own personal growth. And perhaps you've developed an attitude of giving up even before something begins. Or if you decide to tackle it, you do just the minimum work. You might allow yourself to get distracted because you're avoiding to do the work in the first place. And again, this is understandable, especially if you didn't have parents that supported your development. And you might need a bit of effort to learn the discipline of solving problems or simply facing daily life, facing the mundane. But the skill of being there and being able to focus on a time consuming undertaking is one of the best you can do. And, there is an art to this, to kind of coming back and picking up from where you left off and continuing the work day after day, knowing that at the end you will get rewarded. At the end, you will feel that accomplishment, and it will give you a boost both internally and externally. So celebrate your accomplishments and your victories. You've likely gotten used to, nobody giving you credit for the hard work and the effort you put into something you find meaningful. That may be contributing to your overall, gloomy spirit. So recognize how far you've become, recognize how much you're progressing, and how it allows you to know a bit more about yourself day after day. This practice makes you a better person. And trust me, the fact that you decided to start and stick to the work you believe in is worth celebrating on its own. The mere fact that you realized, wait a second, I need to do something because this is not okay. That in itself is something you should be celebrating, letting go of the idea that your parents are perfect or that they themselves are good enough. Because for many years we have believed this and this was our normal. But at some point, you started understanding that all the hostility, all the pain, and all the confusion, where are all coming from? And you're discovering that your parents are also people who suffered, who are doing mistakes, who have traumas and have things of their own they need to look at and they need to heal. So letting go of the idea, letting go of that burden and that injustice that has been done to you, that in itself needs celebrating. You have your life to live, and you should not carry the responsibilities of others. So learn to accept yourself and your circumstances, because this is the way to move forward. You discover things about yourself that you may like or you may dislike, but they are part of you. And I would argue that you can use them to create or to do good things. So, coming from a dysfunctional home, you are a unique person of your own with a lot of things to say and a lot of things to express. So use that to your advantage. There's probably a lot of resilience in you. You are probably an out of the box thinker and problem solver. So accept certain things about you, accept that you will have things you need to unlearn, you will have things you need to tackle, but you are very much aware of those things, or at least you are becoming aware of this as you are moving on this journey of becoming good enough for you. So acceptance isn't all that bad. In accepting, you can also seek help based on your history and on your uniqueness. So I hope you can understand where all the pain and all the confusion is coming from. A lot of people go through life denying who they are, and then life becomes harder and harder than it should be. So accept yourself for who you are, accept the circumstances, and understand that you do have the power to use everything that you have to build a better life. And you don't need the validation of anybody except yourself. You've got this.